The Montgomery County Department of Parks manages more than 34,000 acres of parkland and more than 400 parks. I'm Councilmember George Leventhal, and I invite you to explore them with us on The Parks Show, up next.
The sound of a rippling stream flowing over rocks soothes and relaxes us. A walk along a stream valley trail gives us an opportunity for exercise and friendships. We also come to the parks to explore, to learn, and to appreciate nature. Protecting these special places for this and future generations is an important responsibility.
Hi, I'm Kelly Holsendorf, host of The Park Show, the show all about Montgomery County's parks.
In this episode, we'll explore the stream valleys of Montgomery parks. Stream valley parks are interconnected, linear parks along major streams that provide conservation and recreation opportunities. Typically, you can enjoy hiking or biking along trails, fishing, picnicking, playgrounds, or simply relaxing and soaking up the natural landscape.
Well, I just like to be out in nature, and this is a very lovely part of it. And so
I said this corridor is particularly nice on the weekends because it's leading on into Rocky Park through DC, where it's closed off to through traffic.
Really getting
So you've got a big swath of area that people can come and go through.
In fact, Montgomery County's park system was created around its stream valleys. Within 34,000 acres of parkland, 14,000 acres are dedicated to stream valley parks in the stream valley units.
And stream valley parks are part of our conservation-oriented parks. In them, you'll find natural communities you might not expect in Montgomery County, Maryland. For instance, in the moist forest of Rachel Carson Conservation Park in Olney, you'll see rattlesnake orchids, showy orchids, and the beautiful Virginia dayflower.
In some cases, the landscape is dramatic, like where I am today, Burnt Mills Dam at Colesville Road, part of the Northwest Branch Stream Valley Park. This is where the Maryland Piedmont meets the Atlantic Coastal Plain, part of an extensive watershed that leads to the Chesapeake Bay.
In other places, the landscape is quiet, simple, but if you look deeper, it speaks volumes.
So stay tuned to this special edition of The Park Show, and don't forget to wear your waders.
Earliest acquisitions of parkland in Montgomery parks was a piece of Sligo Creek Stream Valley, acquired in 1930. Early park planners designed parks that provided a buffer for rivers and streams, but were also an attraction to residents of a growing county. Two-lane parkways, roads that ran parallel to the streams, brought people into the parks. Home builders used the parks as a selling point. Businesses wanted to be nearby. The parks were popular, sometimes too popular for their own good.
Now, more than 80 years later, we know our sensitive natural resources must be protected, especially the streams. They are the filtering system for the land. They weed out pollutants, recharge groundwater, and provide organic matter, among other duties. And these waters are living proof, a gauge of what's happening to the surrounding environment.
Guys, a tire!
The stream valleys also provide habitat for wildlife. and corridors for them to travel. They provide natural areas for humans, places to go to experience nature, to recreate, to hang out. And our waterways can serve as living classrooms.
Might look like nothing, but what you need to do is make sure you look for anything that's moving. You got something there?
Yeah, another.
More of those water striders.
The Department of Parks employs land use planners and natural resources experts to manage the waterways and green spaces. Their challenge is to find the right balance between what nature needs and humans want. Here's Dr. John Hinch. He's chief of the Montgomery County Department of Parks, Park Planning and Stewardship Division, to tell us more.
The Park Planning and Stewardship Division is composed of 6 major sections, and these sections include park and trail planning, natural resources stewardship, cultural resources stewardship, which is where we have our history and archaeology programs, resource analysis, which includes our aquatics program, legacy open space, which is the program that's involved in acquiring the best examples of natural and cultural resources in Montgomery County, and finally our natural surface trails program. Across those 6 sections, we have approximately 35 employees. The division was created in order to achieve the right balance between recreation and stewardship. And we do that within our organization by combining the staff that are responsible for park and trail planning with those that are responsible for putting together the plans that manage and protect the natural resources and cultural resources throughout our 34,000 acre park system. We look at archaeological resources in the ground. We look at built historic structures. We look at the various species of plants and animals that live in terrestrial and aquatic environments. And we understand their relationships on the landscape, where they occur, how they interact, and how they come together if we're talking about natural resources in distinct communities. And all of that is mapped. And we use that mapped information to help guide our land use decisions, so that as we seek to improve parkland with built structures, we place those built structures in areas where our most important natural and cultural resources are not present. Thereby we're able to protect our best examples of natural and cultural resources, while at the same time design and implement a park system that's valued by the community we serve.
Sophia did that one. Oh, that's a pretty fancy knot. Yeah.
In its earliest days, the park system was acquired and developed in the southern part of the county, and it grew as an outgrowth of the stream valleys originating in the District of Columbia. The Stream Valley Park system today is comprised of approximately 34 units and encompasses about 14,000 acres. Early on in the park system's history, we incorporated various improvements in Stream Valley Parks, including things like Sligo Creek Parkway, the Recreation Center at Candy Cane City, the cabin in Kensington, as well as playgrounds, picnic areas, and baseball fields. In today's world, we're a little bit more aware of the impacts of these types of improvements on the environment, and we now have what we refer to as environmental guidelines. These are promulgated by the Commission and apply to all public and private development projects in the county. And these guidelines establish standards for how the stream valleys and other environmentally sensitive areas here in Montgomery County are to be managed. And as we've come to be more aware about man's impact on the environment, we've tended to move our improvements out of the valleys. So now as one moves northward in the county, you'll typically find less park infrastructure in the valleys, whereas in the south, especially in Sligo and Lower Rock Creek, we still find quite a bit of infrastructure. But as time goes on and as opportunities present themselves, we actually make efforts to move that infrastructure out or into portions of the valleys that are less sensitive and further from the streams.
John mentioned monitoring the health of our streams. Jay Cole, aquatic ecologist, is on the front lines. She explains.
I work as an aquatic ecologist for the Montgomery County Department of Parks, and part of my job is to monitor the health of the streams and to make sure that we not only restore the health of the streams, but that our streams don't get further degraded. So we do it on a watershed basis. So we divide all the watersheds in the county, and we'd have a 5-year monitoring plan that we do in conjunction with the Department of Environmental Protection, and we monitor different watersheds per year. So after 5 years, we can tell what the entire health of the streams in the county look like. So how is the health of our stream? The health of our streams depend on where you are in the county. In the up-county areas, those tend to be better, ecologically tend to be better because there are a lot less development. As the development increases, as you get more urbanized in the county, the health of our streams goes down. Generally speaking, the amount of imperviousness or roads, houses, all development decreases the health of the stream. When we do our monitoring, we categorize a stream based on the benthic macroinvertebrates and the fish. And it goes into a category of poor, fair, good, or excellent. Different fish can survive in different quality of water. So depending on the type of fish that you find in a stream, that tells me the health of the stream. We have intermediate fish that can kind of live in good and fair watersheds, and then fish like the black-nosed dace that can exist in poor to excellent streams. So the population of fish that we find in a stream tells me the general health of that stream. So what might look like a normal section of stream is actually a very complex ecosystem. Different fish need different types of habitat in order to survive. So where you start off with a riffle, which is a fast-moving, shallow, over rocks water feature, there are certain fish like the sculpin who subsist in that type of habitat. Then you've got the faster-moving glides, where a lot of cyprinids or minnows like to move around and live. Then the deeper pools where the larger predators, smaller fish, babies like to hide. It gives you a lot of good refuge from predators, and they need that deep water in order to survive. Sometimes what we find in our streams is that we get non-native invasive fish. And one of the major non-native invasive fish that we're battling right now is the northern snakehead. It's been found in parts of Northwest Branch in the Prince George's County. We recently found snakeheads in Burnt Mills area. And what we do is we try to eradicate the non-native invasives, get them out of our watersheds. What generally happens is they're fierce competitors with our native fish, and so not only will they wipe out a population of fish, but they're usually very prolific breeders. So 2 snakehead fish there will be hundreds of snakeheads later on, as opposed to trout, which need very specific habitats in order to breed and exist. So another thing that I do, in addition to the biological monitoring, is help the environmental engineering group with their stream restoration projects. We identify sensitive areas in the stream before construction begins so that the construction group knows where they need to stay out of and what needs to be protected. When you walk along streams, sometimes you'll see usually pink or red flagging that says wetland delineation. So those areas have already been identified as wetlands and need to be protected both during construction and after construction. We also come out to the streams to identify areas that already are good habitat, and one of the examples are right here, where we have a tree that's already connected with the stream. Its root system is connected to the water, there's a pool underneath it, and that's great fish habitat. So when the construction section comes in to do a stream restoration, we want to protect the bank and the tree roots upstream of the tree, but we want to keep the pool intact so the fish have a place that they can take refuge from predators, find food, all that kind of stuff. It also is good habitat for the bugs, the benthic macroinvertebrates that like to cling on to the root systems underwater in order to get their prey.
Many of our parks feature an extensive trail system, especially in the down county urban parks.
You may recognize Sligo Creek Stream Valley Park. This park follows Sligo Creek as it joins the Anacostia River on its way to the Potomac. It originates in Wheaton and connects with Northwest Branch Stream in Prince George's County. Little Falls Stream begins in Chevy Chase and heads southeast toward the Potomac River. Its watershed contains some of the oldest developed areas of the county. An old trolley line has been converted to a hiker-biker trail called the Capitol Crescent Trail, which parallels the C&O Canal at some points. Rock Creek Stream Valley finds its headwaters near Laytonsville and flows south to Lake Needwood. From there, it passes through Rockville and enters the District of Columbia, where it joins Rock Creek National Park. Rock Creek is a tributary to the Potomac River.
Then there are the Stream Valley parks that are less developed. Many of these exist up county.
The northwest branch of the Anacostia River creates a large Stream Valley Park on the eastern side of the county. It starts in Olney and flows through Wheaton and then Colesville. It features rugged terrain that hikers enjoy. Great Seneca Creek begins in Damascus and flows to the Potomac River. Additional linkages include Dry Seneca and Little Seneca Creeks. It joins Seneca Creek State Park to create a large green space in the upper west part of Montgomery County. Upper Paint Branch, it is one of the latest park acquisitions, and it stretches through Montgomery and Prince George's counties. It originates in Burtonsville and flows southeast into Martin Luther King Jr. Recreational Park.
Sometimes streams have to be restored to stabilize them, improve habitat, or reduce erosion along the stream bank. When a stream's in need, we call Department of Parks Environmental Engineering Supervisor Andy Frank to the rescue.
I'm an engineer at the Park Development Division. Our group works on engineering projects throughout the park system, from new park developments to infrastructure rehabilitation, and one of our main focuses is on water resources engineering. We typically will have 3 to 4 stream restoration projects at some point during the process of design, permitting, and construction. We typically would go to construction on a project, either 1 to 2 projects a year, in addition to projects that are done by other entities on parkland, and emergency repairs that would come up due to weather events or water line breaks or the such. So our projects generally range in the $300,000 to $500,000 range for construction. This project here in Colesville, Maryland, we're at the Maydale Conservation Park, and this is the left fork of the Paint Branch, and we did a project starting up over here at the intake weir for a nature pond behind us, and we extended about a quarter mile downstream to a confluence with another channel. This project took about a year and a half to design and permit, and we built it last summer. The cost was just under $500,000. Behind me is a step pool series that essentially creates a fish ladder to allow fish passage from the lower areas of the left fork up above a concrete weir that was installed about 50 years ago. The diversion weir diverts some water off into the ponds, and unfortunately, though, over time with the erosion of the stream, it created a fish blockage, which prevented fish from being able to migrate and enjoy the habitat both upstream and downstream of the culvert. We took a series of step pools and we adjust the grade of the stream, the bottom of the channels, and we do it in small increments, which allow fish resting areas and the ability to jump up to the next level. Instead of being about an 18-inch drop, we divided it into 8 to 9, 2 to 3 to 4-inch drops, which are much more easy for the fish in this area to navigate. As I mentioned, we do projects all throughout the county. We just recently completed a project in the Waverly-Schuylkill Neighborhood Park, which contains tributaries to Rock Creek. And in that project, we had a severely degraded ecosystem. And essentially, this stream channel was devoid of habitat. It was essentially acted as a gully. It was continuously eroding, adding more sediment to Rock Creek, which ultimately gets down into the bay. We had the opportunity there to build what we're referring to a regenerative wetland seep system, where we brought the grade back up, but we used different materials in the base of the stream, including cobbles and gravels and wood chips, actually, to add organic matter, and incorporated that with the rock structures to create more habitat and more biology for the ecosystem to develop around. It's brought back a lot of frogs, ducks that live there now, birds that come in there and use that as a habitat for themselves. And the community has been very, very receptive to it, and we feel it's really restored the area. One of our other major projects we have going on in the county is up in Durwood, Maryland, in the Lake Needwood area. Lake Needwood was built in the mid-60s as a flood management system, a recreational pond. It also collects a lot of sediment that comes down through the stream channels above due to erosion, old farming techniques. And as it collects sediment, it begins to build up in the area above Needwood Road, which we call the forebay, and the upper portion of the lake just below Lake Needwood. And the parks is undergoing a major dredging program in that area. We're expecting to dredge approximately 100,000 cubic yards of material out of there, which will take about 10,000 dump truck loads. And what we've done is we've lowered the elevation of the lake about 6 to 8 feet, which has exposed the sediment that's built up over the last 20 to 30 years. And we have contractors out there using excavation equipment to dredge some of the materials or excavate some of the materials up, and it's being hauled just up the street to an area that's a newly acquired piece of parkland that's between the park system and the new ICC. This will actually build a large hill in that area made of sediment, which will ultimately be reforested and create a nice buffer between the parks and the highway system. So we were originally hoping to have the lake dredged and filled back up with water by Memorial Day in 2011. It looks like we're going to be a little bit later than that, later in the summer, possibly to Labor Day, depending on how quickly the lake is able to refill, which is completely dependent on the weather conditions. While the construction is something that needs to be done by the Department of Parks with contractors under very strict permitting regulations, there's a lot that the community can add to help protect their stream systems. Whether it's participating in a stream cleanup or it's working to control some of the non-native invasives that grow in the stream systems, or simply, if they live near a park stream, to not mow the vegetation all the way to the stream bank, leaving a little bit of buffer for all the critters to enjoy, and not dumping leaves and other things in there. Also remember that all of our storm drains in the streets are connected to the stream, so whatever falls there ultimately ends up in your stream. So the less we can put in there, the less that we need to take out and the less that impact the ecology down here.
Oh, trash. The Parks Department is lucky many of our park users are also our best friends. They help keep the streams healthy with cleanups year-round.
Just picking up all this plastic that accumulates every time it floods in the creek.
Friends of Rock Creek is a community group. It's dedicated to making the park a better place, helping clean up the park, looking for improvements in the water quality in the creek.
You know, in past years there have been a lot more bottles and cans but this year it's mainly plastic draping the trees.
We come down here a little cleanup time, and we have lots of plastic bags full of plastic.
Come this way, guys.
Everyone, over here.
All right, we're coming. I got him here, buddy. It's unbelievable. We come here twice a year, and it's like we've never been here. That's a real eyesore. A half hour earlier, this entire place where you're standing and we're standing was literally covered with plastic bottles. I mean, almost like a sheet of snow of nothing but bottles. So we got them all out already, but it's just a big strainer for the creek right here.
I've done some volunteering on trail maintenance and so on and helped in some pickups. In fact, we just saw walking along here a place where the creek's sort of dammed up and there's an amazing number of bottles and trash and so on there that needs to be cleaned up.
We found everything. We found, purses with driver's license. We found money.
We found paneling from a house.
A tray?
There's a big chunk of paneling, wood paneling.
We get batteries. We get various parts of cars. You name it.
I found a tire in the water. Yeah! Guys, a tire! It's in the water! It's in the water! We can't get it!
We found the grill from probably a truck.
Single date Montessori College.com. I found a chair. It's a shoe. I found a cup. It's a Lego. I can put this in my house.
The kids like to think they're in the country, like to think they're hiking and biking into someplace that's rural. A lot of times when we hike or bike rides on the trail and we're passing the creek here and you look across the banks and you see plastic bottles or plastic bags, it kind of takes away from this, well, it brings you back to the reality.
But the river has gotten cleaner.
It's one of the wonderful things about living in this metropolitan area, to bring your children out when they're little and sort of introduce them to the out of doors and get them excited about it. And so it's something we really need and we really need to take care of.
The Friends of Rock Creek's environment is just one group who pitches in. We have lots of other friends and partnerships with environmental organizations at the local, state, and federal level. This impressive list proves just how important stewardship is.
And here at the Department of Parks, our volunteers gather not only for stream cleanups and monitoring, but weed warrior projects, trail plantings, trail maintenance, and more. If you are interested in helping, please go to parksvolunteers.org. Well, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We know you're busy, which, remember, is all the more reason to come hang out in a Stream Valley Park. Busy people need to relax. I think I'll stay here for the rest of the day. See you in the parks.